Influence, the global podcast that shines a spotlight on the influencer marketing industry.
Welcome to another edition of Influence, the global podcast that shines a spotlight on the influencer marketing industry. I'm Gordon Glenister, and in this edition we'll be meeting three members of the influencer arm of the Branded Content Marketing Association. And in a while I'll be speaking with legal guru Rupa Shah and motivational influencer Adam Cam. But first I spoke to author, public speaker and influencer Tene Edwards about her fascinating journey.
I didn't plan to become an author. It was so unexpected. I started writing to sort of release the emotions and feelings that I was carrying that was really just taking over my life, because they were very sad thoughts. And I'm quite a shy person and I don't really speak to people about things that I go through. So I wasn't really sure where to turn, and writing was where I released my pain. So that's how that began. I then started to post my words on social media because I guess I was searching for understanding. And when I saw that so many people were able to resonate with what I was saying, for me, I felt like very liberated.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it was comforting. My audience, definitely, I feel like they've become my family, because a lot of them have grown with me. A lot of them have been following me before I even published the book. So they've seen my journey in writing, publishing the book and growing as a performer.
So one of the things when we met at an event recently, one of the things that I was quite intrigued about is you've grown, a sizable Instagram following of over 35,000. And now you want to progress into the influencer space more.
That's right.
So I'm particularly interested in how you've developed your audience and how you think the influencer working with particular brands is going to help that.
So I started posting my words in 2016 on Instagram. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I never knew that I was building an audience or anything. But what I saw was that people were able to resonate with what I was writing, and I wanted my writing to reach more people so that I could help more people. So I started interacting with people in the comments of larger platforms that posted quotes, and found out the most common hashtags also that people were using relating to the things that I was writing about. And I started interacting with people there. I would do this for like several hours a day, every day.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's quite interesting, because I think some people that are very new to influencer marketing, they look at it as if to say, wow, how can somebody grow their audience so quickly? But it takes a lot of work. It's not an overnight success, is it?
Definitely not.
No.
So I was doing that for a while, and it brought me up to like about almost 10,000 within I'd say a year to a year and a half. So and then I got signed by a publisher company called The Good Quote, who have an audience of over 15 million, including like celebrities, who literally took my Instagram to the next level by reposting my words on their account. The next step would be to write about somebody else's story that's quite close to me. That would be the next step. I feel like a lot of people would be able to resonate with some of the things that they've gone through in their life. So for me, when my publisher started reposting my words, my followers was growing very quickly, and I was getting a lot of DMs, and some of the comments were negative, and I found this really hard to deal with to begin with. It used to make me feel really down, but as an influencer, like you said, you sort of have to accept that it's all a part of the process, and the negativity strengthens you. It helps you to build tougher skin.
Yeah.
Just like J.K. Rowling, Beyonce, I mean, they're all a huge success, and they're critiqued. So if they can be critiqued, it's okay for us to be critiqued too.
And do you think? I mean, I know you said you were, a little bit shy at the beginning, but do
Yeah.
you see yourself as potentially a mentor or fairly inspirational to other women or guys or whatever that are on the early part of their journey on social media marketing?
Yes, definitely, because writing a book, it doesn't just sell itself. So I've sort of learned how to do that, how to market it, and a lot of people do ask me for advice. A lot of other influencers ask me for advice. So yeah, I do.
Influence, the global podcast that shines a spotlight on the influencer marketing industry.
Next, I spoke to Adam Cam, who's a motivational influencer who started the decade with over 460,000 followers on Instagram, and I was keen to find out how he started out.
So I started my whole kind of social media journey back in 2013 when I was a train driver, actually.
When you were what?
Like railway. A train driver.
Oh my God.
Well, I say a train driver. Have you heard of Docklands Light Railway?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's the train that drives itself. So I was a driver of the train that drives itself.
Great.
So anyway, yeah, I started my social media journey back then, and it was just for fun, to be honest. Everyone was on it, and it was more just a social thing and following my kind of fitness idols and so on. And as the years went by, I started to realize that people were actually making money from this. People are setting up businesses and setting up collaborations and sponsorships. And I said, you know what, I want a piece of that as well. So I kind of dived headfirst into it and put out lots of fitness content. And I didn't get any traction
Right.
at all. I kind of nosedived, and I was putting lots of work in, putting loads of effort into it, and it just wasn't gaining any traction. And what I did, I started to read books on marketing, on influence, on persuasion, on personal branding, and I really kind of immersed myself in it. I'm kind of obsessed about it for about 8-9 months. I really went into it. I even hired a mentor to help me with it as well. And I came up with my message, with my own personal brand. And when I had that, everything just flowed. Everything, I started to gain traction. I studied the algorithm, how that works, and I put everything together. And since then, I haven't looked back.
When I speak to people, they find it really difficult to start with. So I guess my next question is if you were somebody starting out now for the first time, what would your advice be?
First, to get clear on the why. Why do you want to build a following? Do you want more money? Do you want to sell products or services? Do you want to build a following? Do you want status? Get clear on exactly, because the strategy is different depending on what it is exactly that you want. If you're a coach or a consultant, then it's important that you niche down and your content has to be tailored to your exact target audience. Otherwise, your message is kind of wishy-washy and you're not really targeting anyone. Your page isn't going to grow with your ideal audience. So for a coach or a consultant, it's really important to kind of niche down as much as possible and really nail in on your ideal audience. And what I call that is foundations. Now, how I'm going to put it to you is when you build a big, beautiful mansion, what are the first things that you need to have in place? You need to have strong, solid core foundations, right? And a lot of people bypass those foundations because they're hard work. They're not fun. They're not sexy. They're not exciting.
Yeah.
People are looking for the shiny objects.
Yeah.
They're looking for the plasma screen TV, the marble flooring. That's what the people are looking for. The quick fixes to quickly grow their page. When you bypass those foundations, you'll get the mansion up. After a couple of weeks, you'll start seeing some cracks. Those cracks get bigger. And then after a couple of months, your mansion crumbles into a big pile of shit. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but it crumbles. It crumbles. And that is what I see that time and time and time again with so many influencers and so many people trying to build their page. They don't have solid foundations. And that comes down to a message. What is your personal brand message? What are you all about? So when someone first comes to your page, it's a 10-second scan. They perform a 10-second scan. And they look 2 seconds at your profile picture, 4 seconds at your bio, and 4 seconds at your first 9 pictures. And if they cannot see exactly what value you are going to provide them in those 10 seconds, they will not hit that follow button.
Yeah.
So those 10 seconds are really important. Your message needs to be very, very clear on what value you can provide to your target audience.
And what about
You've got 10 seconds in which to do that?
And what about some of the little icons? Do they make a difference, do you think? What you're actually saying in your bio, you know, you said, so when you say the value, give me an example perhaps.
So what value is someone going to get from following that page? What are they going to get? So example, my page, it says positivity, motivation, self-love, and coffee. That's what they're going to get when they follow me.
Right.
That is my content. That is what they're going to get when they follow me. And then they look at my pictures, my first 9 pictures, and they are fully aligned to what I have said in my bio.
Right, okay.
So there's no doubt. And I said the power is in the caption. So everything that they see on my bio is fully aligned to my first 9 posts, and they know exactly what they're going to get.
So if you're working with somebody then, presumably, and you've got a current account in front of you, what do you suggest to them? That they start again, or do you... because I'm assuming that when you're working with people, you know, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from people that have already got an account, and it's just not perhaps getting the traction. So I guess what I wanted to say is, how do you repurpose that and reshape that?
Yeah. So when I first look at an Instagram account, I see a bucket. That's what I see, a bucket, and I see loads of holes in that bucket. And all we do is close up the holes in that bucket. So you can use all those tips and tricks, you know, influencer marketing to hashtags. You can get eyeballs on your page. That's easy. It's not hard to get those eyeballs on your page. It's actually very easy. But you can get those eyeballs and they'll fall straight out through the holes in your bucket. So when I see an Instagram account, within 5 minutes, I can see all the holes within their content.
Really?
Wow.
Perhaps you ought to have a look at mine.
Yeah.
You should have a look at
no
mine.
Problem, Gordon.
Yeah, no, indeed.
So some people say it's a gift. But for me, it's just failing myself and learning and becoming obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And that's how I've kind of gathered that experience over the years.
Yeah. So what are the common mistakes do you find that people are making?
The biggest mistake is they want to grow too quick.
Yeah.
So what I do as part of with my clients is coaching as well. You know, managing people's expectations. People come in, I want to grow 10,000 followers in a couple. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There's so much that goes into it. The messaging, the foundations that I mentioned, those are and that takes a couple of weeks to get into place. And then you have to kind of tailor your content towards that, but it doesn't happen straight away.
Yeah.
Just move into it. So it does take a couple of weeks to kind of bring in your new methodology, your new content strategy. So I used to run a business called Shift Worker Fit, where I started my business as coaching just everyone who wanted to lose weight. And the business didn't go very well because I was just a commodity. I was just a small fish in a big pond, and everyone was selling fitness plans.
Yeah.
So then I went, because obviously I worked on a trade as well, and I niched down into coaching just shift workers, and my business took off, my coaching business. So yeah, the power is in the niche. But again, it depends on exactly what it is that you want. You know, some people want to grow and they want collaborations, they want sponsorships. And for that, you need a large following that is heavily engaged. If you want to sell your life coaching, if you want to sell your fitness program, then you need to find a specific niche, hone in on it, and serve the shit out of them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's how
I agree.
That's how your page is going to grow.
Yeah. And what about looking at other people that perhaps you admire and you know, growth hacking, i.e., following those types of people that follow your heroes?
Yeah, and commenting on their stuff.
Yes,
that is one way to get that. That's something that I would used to do quite a lot, actually. Networking and get yourself out there.
Yeah,
get yourself seen, and don't just comment with an emoji. Comment with a kind of deep, and really kind of engage with them as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, some of the people that I follow, I really do notice that it isn't just one or two people that they comment on. It's pretty much all the way through. And I think it's almost it's that sense of recognition and acknowledgement that the person that's following you is taking the time to do that. It's you know, and for you to be able to acknowledge that, I think is valuable. And they'll want to tell their friends. Exactly.
And I comment on pretty much. I don't know if you've looked at my page, but I comment on about 90% of the people that comment on my posts.
Yeah.
And I get around 500 comments a post.
Wow, that is incredible.
Sometimes I come back from a long day and I'll just respond to everyone.
Yeah, that is incredible. And do you finding that you're only on Instagram, that's all your focus on, or do you look at the other platforms as well as a way to drive people towards what you're doing?
Yeah, so I am Instagram is my bread and butter. I've mastered that platform now, and I'm growing about 7 or 8K every week. So Instagram is my bread and butter. That's my baby. But LinkedIn, I've been on there for 2 months, and it's taken off in those 2 months. I absolutely love LinkedIn because it's a good place to network and meet kind of like-minded people who love and who are passionate about the same things as me. And another one is TikTok.
Yes, of course, the latest baby. Yeah, indeed. Have you done some work on TikTok?
I tell you what, my first post got 220k views.
220,000 views. Oh my
220 for my first post. It just went bang. It just exploded. It slowed down a little bit, but I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to keep pushing on there and keep going. I've got I think 20,000 likes on there now. It's quite good because the organic reach is really good on there. So I feel like now is the time to really push.
Yeah.
But another thing I've seen on there is a lot of people are getting very excited and they're going away from their brand message.
Yeah, it's supposed to be too comical or stuff like that.
Exactly. And I think that's a huge mistake because people won't take them seriously.
Yeah.
If they're one way on one platform and something completely different on another.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is kind of tailoring my message from Instagram into a little bit more of a light-hearted version, but there's still brand alignment.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going away from who I am and what I'm trying to promote.
And what about IGTV? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I had a little play with that. I did some videos on that, and I wasn't very keen on it. I'll be honest. I don't like the way it fits into the Instagram page. It doesn't fit seamlessly. Instagram is not a platform where people are going to sit and watch for long periods of time. They don't associate that platform with viewing long videos. So I find that people drop off very quickly. They watch it for like a minute, 2 minutes. And if I've done a 10-minute video, it doesn't get the engagement that it should do.
That's more
because they don't associate.
More YouTube, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why Instagram have realised they were losing that battle. So now they've also done horizontal videos as well for IGTV.
Yeah.
And the whole USP was that it's vertical. That was their whole selling point.
So, I mean, final tips then, before you shoot off. What's your what would you say your 3 killer tips are for really rapidly developing your Instagram?
So the first one is to have a killer message that is completely aligned to what it is that you want to achieve and what it is that you're trying to promote, and tailor all of your content to that one message. I call it the straight line. You can deviate slightly, but you always come back to that straight line.
Yeah.
You can come from left, you can come from right, you can come up, you can come down, but you always come back to that straight line. That is probably the most important tip that I can give.
Okay.
Then is posting frequency. So Instagram are now rewarding content creators who post regularly. So basically, people that are able to keep their viewers on the platform for long periods of time. Instagram want people to stay on the platform. So if you're posting regularly, you're posting good content, people are viewing your content, they're spending more than 20 seconds on your post, then you are seen as a valuable creator and you'll be rewarded for that. So they'll expose your page to more people to keep you motivated, to keep you posting more. You'll get more likes, you'll get more views, and you'll get more followers. The final is something that no one ever talks about, really, is the mindset of an influencer, the mindset of a quality content creator, and that is resilience. Do you know how many top-notch content creators are now in a 9-to-5 job that they absolutely hate because they gave up after a few posts didn't get enough likes, after it didn't get enough engagement, and they weren't resilient enough to push on?
Yeah, I can imagine a lot.
I'm telling you, there are so many that I speak to, so many people that I know would absolutely crush it, that just don't have the balls to carry on doing it because they didn't get enough likes, because they feel like their content wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So the third tip is be absolutely fucking relentless. Believe in it, want it, and go for it full steam ahead.
Influence, the global podcast that shines a spotlight on the influencer marketing industry.
Lastly, we have Rupa Shah, who previously worked for industry regulator, the ASA.
Sure, so I started off in their investigations department. This was straight after law school for me. And I think it was 2004, so it was around about the time that the ASA was taking on broadcast advertising remit. So previous to that, they were only looking at ads in traditional sort of print media, so newspapers, magazines, that type of thing. But as I joined, they were expanding and taking on complaints in TV and radio as well. So it was a big time for them. I worked in their investigative team, and that's part of the role there was to look at complaints as they came in. They're already assessed by a different team, but in investigations you take a look at the complaints that are definitely require investigation, that need a careful look at. So started off there, and then moved over to the Committee of Advertising Practice, CAP. And that's the ASA sister body. And so one of the roles of CAP is to give advice to the industry. So I worked in their copy advice team and giving advice to advertisers who had queries, questions about terms and conditions, that type of thing for their ads. And ultimately finished up in their compliance team. So 13 years, and that was the final.
It's a good innings, isn't it? And so tell us a little bit more about the influencer space of which you are now heavily entrenched in. I mean, one of the things, in fact, we were both at an event together, and I was quite staggered by the amount of complaints that the ASA does handle in the course of the year. But of course, we don't know how many of those are related necessarily to influencers. What's your take on those individuals that consistently flout the hashtag ad rules?
It's difficult because I think what might be happening is if it's a particular influencer, they might be doing it with brand A, brand B, brand C, brand D. So it might be that as a brand, you don't necessarily know that an influencer isn't compliant with the rules, or they're not likely to comply if you're not doing your due diligence. So, I mean, it's something that you should be doing as a brand, of course, and it's really important for your own responsibility as well as the influencers that you are compliant with the rules, because the ASA holds both the brand and the influencer ultimately responsible if they're not disclosing correctly. And
so just give me an indication then of what happens or what could happen to an influencer that doesn't obey the law.
Well, we've seen it. There have been some high-profile cases. You've had the likes of Louise Thompson, Olivia Buckley, I think. So these are sort of in the celebrity sphere, influencers that have quite high followings. But it doesn't. You don't necessarily have to be an influencer with thousands of followers. It could be somebody with far fewer followers. But ultimately, what the ASA at the first instance will do is publish a ruling, and it will be on their website. And it's a fairly softly approach at first, but if they consider that an influencer is repeatedly flouting the rules and repeatedly not using the correct forms of disclosure, for example, they will ramp up their sanctions, with the ultimate sanction being referral, for example, to trading standards. And it might be actually that it's not the ASA that gets involved, it might be the CMA, because we know that the Competition and Markets Authority have themselves taken action against influencers. So do we need a landmark case to really drive this message home? Do we need somebody to literally fall by the sword? Well, there've been a few. Like I said, there have been the sort of the celebrity types who have had rulings against them. For example, Louise Thompson's had a couple of them. There's not just been one. But in terms of falling by the sword, if you mean actual referral right way up to trading standards and real, for example, civil or criminal action by the CMA, that hasn't happened yet. But I think you're right, in a way that might be the difference, and might make a change in the attitudes of those influencers that think, it's just not going to happen to me, or I'm not going to get caught.
Well, I think that, and again, we were talking about it from the same event that we attended, those people that are just starting out, if they see people that they respect and follow religiously not obeying those rules, then they may say, well, why should I bother? X, Y, Z doesn't do it.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem. I think we talked about Gary Lineker, didn't we, at the event, and there were other celebrities that, whether it's deliberate or not, you don't know, but they're just not necessarily disclosing correctly. They're not following the rules. And of course, the papers would pounce, the press would pounce on it if it is a big celebrity that the ASA tackle or the CMA tackle. So in January this year, the CMA did write to, I think, around about 16 influencers to explain that, they were getting pretty frustrated with the lack of disclosure, and suggested that if it keeps happening, they will take further action. And I think they went as far as talking about their criminal sanctions. So there is, the threat is there, but will it happen soon? I think we know, I was having a chat with a CMA representative at that event So I know that there are ongoing investigations at the moment. So I think it's not a case of resting easy right now. There are investigations going on.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think we've all got a part to play as leaders in our field, to be honest, in actually helping promote the cause, because I think it's good best practice for the advertising industry overall. And I think if we're going to create this authentic world where people are honest and open, with brands and influencers, but more importantly, influencers with their followers, I think this has got to be done, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's important. And we talk about authenticity all the time in the influencer world and organic growth. And we're seeing a reduction in the number, hopefully, in the number of manipulation of fake followers, that type of thing. It's being called out all the time.
It has.
So I think we are seeing the fact that, I mean, the trends are showing, the graphs are showing that actually your growth is not going to be necessarily reduced if you are using hashtag ad. It doesn't mean that you are going to lose followers. I think that was the worry, of course, at the beginning, that if you've grown authentically and organically and suddenly you start using hashtag ad, it means you're going to drop followers straight away. But actually, if you're aligning those brands with your values and it just makes sense for you to be promoting that product, you're not necessarily going to see that drop that everyone feared.
I was going to ask you, contracts which are often driven by brand partnerships, I'm guessing that in many instances the hashtag ad is a part of that. So, if the influencer wants to get paid as part of that agreement, surely they've got to obey by what's in the contract.
Absolutely, and it should be part of the contract. I think this is something the CMA talked about, and they expect to see within contracts a clear area within that. And this is something that we advise on in hashtag ads, that those contracts should explain very clearly to influencers what they need to be doing, where they need to be putting the hashtag ad, if that's the
not buried in the links.
Exactly that. Not buried down below amongst hundreds of other hashtags. It should be clear and prominent. But there are other ways of doing it. But if you're talking about the contract, I think it absolutely should be in there. You can accompany that with extra information. Brands that are quite savvy will also send fact sheets and how-to guides to their influencers so that they're covering all bases and showing that they are responsible and helping their influencers, understand what they need to do.
So that's it for another edition of Influence. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe and listen to our other episodes. And as always, we welcome your feedback. So from me, Gordon Glenister, goodbye.